everybody's been talking about AI for a while now, okay? No one knows what to do. No one knows what they don't know. No one knows the extent to which they can be leveraging it. It is truly such an abyss.
Greetings, Earthlings. It is your resident blonde bot, your computer correspondent, your tech translator, your digital diplomat.
Now, I have an AI agency. I literally offer coaching and AI agent builds to businesses and individuals. And the truth of the matter is, most businesses are not ready for AI, let alone AI agents. And it's not because the tech isn't there. It's because they can't even articulate how their processes work, let alone all the issues in amongst their team, the appalling state of morale in the business, the disconnect between managerial expectations and staff workload, as well as underlying toxicities that management haven't even picked up yet. Do you know one incompetent team member who brings negativity to the workplace is enough to burden a group of 30 people? It takes 1 in 30. Do you know studies have proven that when you sit next to someone who is more capable, highly competent, an asset to a team or a group environment, that you will increase your own abilities, your contributions, your levels of happiness and fulfillment, all of that by 15%. If you are next to someone who is the antithesis, your output, your capabilities, your general morale drops by 30%. So there's a lot that goes on within businesses that need to be dealt with way before agents are introduced. Now, I speak about the state of work all the time. The 9 to 5 is completely broken and we have outgrown the tech we are on. I talk about this all the time and I will not stop talking about it until we resolve it. I go into this in depth on several podcasts I've been on. I'll link them below. I go into this in depth on my own podcast. It's something that I just can't seem to get away from because it's so pervasive in every aspect of all of our lives. The state of work in 2026 is a disaster. Now, having done culture resets in several businesses over the last few years, as well as being a sectional chief of staff, I have seen group dynamics that even Animal Planet would envy. And the contributing factors to that are endless. Like I said, team dynamics, ratios of positivity to negativity, disconnects between management and staff. These are all obvious issues, but it gets worse with leadership. And the reason why I speak about leadership in relation to businesses incorporating agents is because while the culture of the team is really clear to me during coaching, and I see plenty of issues in leadership there, don't get me wrong, but I really see the glaring issues in leadership when we look at building out agents, because it's an accumulation of how healthy and functional the team has been over many years typically. When standard operating procedures are outdated or never properly written, when they don't exist altogether, when we're paying for tools left and center in our tech stack that may or may not already have AI in hopes we're automating something, when we've gone to automations companies who are just ridiculous and glorified Zapier workflows, you end up with businesses that are completely disenfranchised in terms of their interest in integrating tech. While they know they have to do it, they do it begrudgingly, or they put it off for another day or another week, and they're utterly disempowered in how they envision their business running in the face of a future that will be different. The workplace is going to change immensely. And in fact, the workplace itself is going to, I don't want to say become a dirty word, but our relationship to labor is going to look very different. And that's a good thing. Like I said, we've outgrown it to begin with. Now, the biggest skill anyone can hone in the face of this changing technological and, quite frankly, lifestyle landscape, because the two are always intrinsically linked, is delegation. That is your number one tool to learn. Like, they should be teaching this in schools. Don't even get me started on the education system. We don't have the time. But delegating is a skill. It is is not a talent. It is not something you can pull from the sky. Some people do have more innate leadership qualities in them, absolutely. And what makes a good leader is actually quite a complicated mix of traits. But I suggest that everyone in any role you're in anywhere dedicates 2026 to honing your skills of delegating. Now, yes, we can always look at this through the lens of AI and agents and this and that, but let's peel it right back, because I'm not talking about this solely through the lens of business. I'm actually talking about delegating across the board of your life. Because like I said, this tech is going to be extremely pervasive in our day-to-day lifestyles. And it's actually going to grant us a greater level of control, enjoyment, and efficiency than we've ever experienced for our own personal pursuits, including lifestyle, family time, leisure, etc. I always yap about how AI is the steroid to your creativity. I've talked about that plenty, like I said, on other podcasts, and I'll get into that more in other videos. But 2026 is the year of BDE, big delegation energy. And by that, I really mean that the single most valuable skill you can develop this year, whether you're a founder, a creator, a manager, or just someone who's trying to get more out of AI, you deserve it. Tech companies owe us for the data and the money that we provide them. As I was saying, the most valuable skill, the BDE of it all, learning how to delegate properly. Delegating requires coherence, awareness, and the perfect mix of theory with applied knowledge. Someone who is an expert at what they do, someone who is highly competent in executing a task, knows how to execute that task not only to the best of their abilities, but can actually articulate and teach how to replicate that execution. Reason being is, while there's typically a formula, that person will also know the likely variables, because very few things in life follow an A, B, C consistently sequential unfolding. Usually there's the likely outcome or the likely sequence of events, and then several variables that may occur due to the fact that it is life, and no matter what we do, we need to be agile when things don't go to plan. Delegating in this fashion is, like I said, a skill, arguably an art form, because it's very difficult to do and very few people can do it correctly. And then in a more broader sense, when it comes to delegating as a leader, that is not just offloading tasks off your to-do list to others. It is choosing the right person to do the job, as well as ensuring that you are always across their workload. You cannot simply, and I see this all the time in businesses because the owners or upper management are typically stressed out of their minds, already inundated with the dysfunction of their team that they're ironically perpetuating, and in that they're either tired or burnt out. And by the way, we're all burnt out since COVID. We are all burnt out. You can forget it. We're all fried. Our brains are smoothies. But due to said burnout, they're whipped up into a cortisol frenzy and just throwing out more workload to anyone in their nearest vicinity. And the biggest issue with that is, not only is that a surefire way to burn out your team, because there is only so much time in a given day, but on top of that, when leadership is in that state, they've also typically forgotten what they've delegated, of what work they've requested from whom, and therefore you get the very uncomfortable dynamics of people already on edge barking for completed work when they've forgotten that they've given someone a never-ending to-do list, and the work they're now asking for to be completed has been buried under a pile of new tasks with ambiguous prioritization, and a petrified team member who not only is scrambling to try to wade through that workload, but is also dreading being asked for something that they're now unsure of when it's needed, because 16 other things have been flagged as urgent, immediate, do it now. So it all becomes a mess. And I'm sure most people watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sorry if I'm triggered you, but it's super, super common. And it's because delegating is not something that our education system ever equips us with as a skill. It's intrinsically involved with leadership, which is also not a skill we are taught. And that's why most workplaces are not only highly dysfunctional, some would even qualify as high demand groups. In saying all of that, where does AI come into all of this? We actually have to be the leaders for our computer counterpart. Do you know, even building out agents themselves, you cannot dedicate one agent, particularly at this time, at this point in tech, to do everything. The more you inundate them, the more they hallucinate, the more you have problems. So what we typically find is the biggest block for businesses when introducing agents into their departments need to tell the agent what to do. It's like onboarding a new hire. And by the way, agents are not replacing people. If anything, they're going to make us a lot more human because we won't need to be chained to these bloody devices. My computer's right here, by the way. That's why I keep pointing to it. We will not need to be chained to these blue light factories all the time, which will be delightful. We're actually going to swing back to a lot more human-to-human interaction in work and in life, which is fantastic and so overdue. But in order to train an agent, you need to tell it what to do on the simple basis of executing a task all the way to how that task fits into the running of the business day to day. And the businesses that thrive in incorporating this technology are not those with the fanciest tech or the highest AI literacy, although they do build it quite quickly when they start to understand the capabilities. But the businesses who thrive in introducing agents, but also in revitalizing the health of their team, are the ones who have the team members who understand how to think in systems, break down processes, and communicate so coherently that both humans and machine follow them. That's what delegating is, and that's what good leadership is. AI is only as good as your brief. But if we're being honest with ourselves, that goes for people too. So we actually have to set an example and be the adults in the room to our robots. Don't forget, AI isn't necessarily experienced. It's got all our data, particularly the more and more you use an LLM or a chatbot, ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini. It's like talking to a really smart 5-year-old. Genius, but a 5-year-old. We have to be the adults and set an example for our bot babies. Communicating what you know, context, your standards, your processes, your wisdom is a very nuanced but invaluable skill. And if you sit back and ask yourself if you could do that right now, it would likely present as a lot more challenging than you think. If I had $1 for every time we asked a client for their standard operating procedures, anything from how they onboard a client to their content approval process to qualifying sales leads, as arbitrary as taking meeting minutes. And the answer is that they don't have them accessible, that they're 3 years out of date, that they live in someone's head. I actually wouldn't even need to have a business. I'd be retired. Peeling it back to make it super simple, you can't delegate what you can't articulate. And what you'll typically find is when you articulate it, it becomes very obvious to you the avenues that are available to either optimize it or to factor in, like I said, the variables that you know someone else doing the role could come across. Therefore, mitigating the risk of someone being blocked because they simply don't have the experience to handle the deviation from the very limited sequence that you've quickly slapped down. Also, for those who are founders or hyper-competent leaders, stop doing everything yourself. It's not sustainable. Write the SOP, iron out the procedure, because you will one day either have a team big enough to support you or have found a lean team of superstars who you supercharge with AI. And if you're not sure where to start on any of this, your LLM is your perfect companion. I always say use AI to use AI. Ask AI how to use AI. I always recommend to clients to do the coaching before the agent building because no one knows your business like you do. And the better your AI literacy, the faster you'll be able to figure out where exactly you need agents incorporated in your business, and then also provide all the context, all the standards, current operating procedures you've got documented into your LLM. You can ask it to update them. You can ask it to optimize them. And then you've got a really solid roadmap for building your agents. See, this is what I'm saying. It's all delegating, even delegating the delegating. And something that's not talked about enough, but needs to be addressed as the biggest blocker to delegating, particularly for those who are really good at their role, is that your high standards, your attention to detail, and your competence breed perfectionism, which then makes you terrible at delegating. So done is better than perfect, and relinquishing begrudgingly control that not everything's going to be done your way. But if it's done well, it's done. Building agents for my own business and for clients has actually made me finally let go and let God and really lean in to nurturing and embracing my own delegation skills. Now, of course, I put this into a framework because with all this systems thinking I have to do for my business and everyone else's, I've, of course, condensed it into a formula. But I think I've talked enough at you for today. So follow along for part 2, where I will break down exactly what big delegation energy actually looks like. It's divvied up into 4 shifts. Shift 1, going from doer to architect. Shift 2, from context hoarder to context distributor. Shift 3, from perfectionist to strategist. And shift 4, from micromanager to systems builder. And I will break down exactly where to start if you're completely overwhelmed. For now, my challenge to you is pick one process in your business or your life, ideally one that you wish you didn't have to keep doing, and document it step by step, every decision, every output. And then ask yourself, could I hand this to someone or some bot and expect them to do it with just this document? If the answer is no, you figured out your delegation gap. Refine further. You can check out my walkthrough of our agent platform on my website, which we've got as a nice little taste test for clients to fathom what we can do, but truly the sky's the limit on what we can build. It's completely bespoke tech, but I had to condense it down to 6 agents. See, my delegating skills are getting better. And to make all of this so much easier for you, I've even built a video analysis protocol called Botbuster Video that lets you film entire screen recordings of standard operating procedures. Just pop the URL in and it will scrape the transcript and keyframes for you so you can then allow any AI, Claude, ChatGPT, your chatbot of choice, use Claude, which will allow it to watch the video. So like I said, getting AI to assist you in refining your procedures becomes so easy when you've got that. Botbuster is the ultimate energy in BDE. And you can also chuck in social media clips as well, because there's so many things we see on socials that we save because we know we'd like to implement later and do, and you're not checking those ever again. Don't lie to yourself. Have fun with all of that, and I will see you next time. I'm Marissa, your blonde bot, materializing for the Matrix to give you the ultimate BDE.